Rev up your engines! Well, the woes go on with GM. They're idling their Lanza Delta assembly plant, and they're extending the shit out of the Lansing Grand River plant. It's all because they don't have the chips to make their cars. Now it just shows what a stupid company it was in the first place. They are depending on these other suppliers of chips instead of designing their own, having better contracts saying we demand this much from this much time. Blew it entirely. Look at Toyota, did they? No. They planned ahead. They had better relationship with the chip producers. I've dealt with companies like GM, and they're so big, they say they're dead from the neck up, from the corporate people. And you can see the geese agree with me. The geese get around, you know? They also say that the Grand River plant is extended till April 26th, that they're not going to produce things. And of course, they're going day by day, week by week with this stuff. They're scrambling to try to get these chips. As I said earlier, here's the problem. The chips in cars are relatively simple chips. They're nothing like the ones they use in games and fancy electronics. The companies that make the chips, they make their profit on the high-tech electronic stuff, not on the low-tech car stuff. They don't care. They're not making that much money doing it. Guys should have either had other companies do it, get a better relationship, or build them themselves like Henry Ford used to build everything on his car. Don't depend on other people in your business. Let me tell you, I ran my own business for 53 years, and I didn't depend on other people unless I absolutely had to, and usually they would let you down. You got to have a system where you're in control and not other people. GM messed up, and now look at the mess they're in. They can't even build half of their vehicles anymore until they straighten this up. Maybe these companies should take a look around. Maybe they should make themselves leaner and more efficient. And instead of all this advertising hoopla that they spend all the time, maybe they should get back into the nitty-gritty of building good cars, building them correctly, and having a supply chain that actually works. Well, you know, Nissan's getting ready with their new Z car. I do have to say that at least in this respect, Nissan understands their customers. The history of the Z car, they're sports cars. They're still going to be available in a manual transmission. Guys, buy those cars. That's what they want. They don't want a Tiptronic. They don't want a computer doing it. They want to shift themselves, and they're still going to make them that way. I say kudos to Nissan. They make a lot of mistakes, but in this case, they haven't. Now, we're probably several months away from seeing the final, actual one that they're producing. These are prototypes that they'll actually be making on an assembly line. They want to make the Z car a sports car that's affordable to a larger amount of people. They're not outrageously priced like a lot of the fast sports cars are. So kudos to Nissan for making a standard transmission still for the people who want a car like that. There's only so many sports cars that sell anyway. They're not gigantic sellers. They generally don't sell millions of them. So, kudos to Nissan for sticking with their original idea, making an affordable, reliable, fun sports car, which started way back with the 240Zs. Can may ask? Scotty, hello from New Zealand. I want a weekend toy car. I'm looking at a 2012 Lexus GS 250 with 95,000 kilometers and a 2012 BMW 320D with 52,000 kilometers. What should I get? I just get the Lexus because they are fun to drive and they don't break down. On the other hand, BMW makes some pretty good diesels. They don't really sell them here in the United States. They're not popular at all. But in Australia, you guys are bigger on diesels. In that case, what you decide is, do you want kind of a zippier car with a Lexus, or do you want a diesel that's going to get better gas mileage and, you know, BMW? I just have to say, though, BMWs worldwide are endless money pits, and they do cost a fortune. You say you want a weekend toy if you're not driving it much mileage. Let's say you could get the BMW a heck of a lot cheaper than the Lexus. Maybe go ahead as a weekend toy. But me, I would still go for the Lexus. They're luxurious, they last forever, and you could have that toy probably the rest of your life if you didn't drive it much. With the BMW, not so much. B-Money99 says, my car's overheating. I just changed the thermostat in my 2004 Dodge Dakota 4.7 V8. The issue is it continues to overheat. Could it be a bad pump? Could it be air in the system? What could it be? Well, it could be a zillion things, of course. What you want to do is watch my video, How to Fix an Overheating Car, Scotty. Just watch that video. They'll show you every single possibility and how you can test them. It can be anything from a radiator cap that's leaking, a leak somewhere which you could pressure test. There's all kinds of things it can be. You don't want to just guess. It could even be cooling fans not working. But watch my video, How to Fix an Overheating Car, Scotty, and that shows you every single thing you can test. Shirley Stock says, I got an 08 Crown Vic Police Interceptor with multiple issues. The transmission slipping. I hear a clunk. I can see the idler pulley moving up and down. I only paid $2 for the thing. What should I do? Well, you should go back in time and not buy the thing. You bought a police interceptor that's got like 148,000 miles. They beat the heck out of those things. You buy a used one, they beat the heck out of those cars. There's hardly anything left of them. You paid $2. If I were you, I would just drive it until it didn't drive anymore and then just say, lesson learned, I lost some money. The transmission's gonna need to be overhauled. I wouldn't worry about the fan belt part, that's peanut money, but since your transmission's slipping, you're either gonna spend thousands rebuilding it or just give up the ghost and drive it till the wheels fall off and it stops running and then just sell it for parts. That's why I advise people do not buy used cop cars. They beat the heck out of them. You get an old one that's an '08. There's not much left, and unless you're planning on doing it over, I know guys that buy them, and what they do is they do them over. They don't care. They just want the shell, the chassis. They'll put another engine, transmission, rear end, they'll soup them up. They basically just want the body and frame. That's all they want. If you want it as a car, that's a mistake for everyday driving. You said you're in New York City. Big mistake. BM3 says, in one of your videos about the Mazda 3, you said some of the redesigned generation from 8 to 13 have 6-speed transmission from Aisin. Is that good? Well, yes, it is. You know, it's the Toyota company. There are actually quite a few vehicles that have Aisin transmissions. Some of the Chrysler products now have Aisin transmissions. They realized the stuff they were using was crap, and they're getting a better manufacturer, Toyota, who owns Aisin, to build transmissions that actually last a long time. And Toyota and Mazda have a pretty good relationship. Now, I believe Toyota owns a certain percent of Mazda anyway. All over the world, you know, the Toyota Yaris, a lot of them are just rebadged Mazdas. So, yes, if it's got an Aisin transmission, it can be an excellent transmission. I wouldn't have any qualms about buying it. I personally would still buy a full-blown Toyota because I like Toyotas, and if I get one made in Japan, even better. But the Mazdas are tons better than they used to be. Used to be those cars were junkers, the trannies would go out. I had customers decades ago, they'd go through 2 or 3 trannies in one of those things in 120,000 miles, but not anymore. They're much better made. Mac Twidget says, should I have my sunroof open or closed? I know you're discussed about air conditioning with the windows up or down, but what happens if you have the sunroof open on highway speeds? Well, actually, that's even worse because you've got the aerodynamics going over the roof, and that really screws things up. It gets more turbulence. And really, if you're going 60, 70 miles an hour, do you really want the sunroof open? It makes an awful lot of noise. My wife would never allow it. It messes her hair up. No, that's more for cruising speeds. You know, if you're out at night looking at the moon or something, or you're going through the woods or something, you want to look around and feel more open, kind of like a semi-convertible. But on the highway, really, they're awful noisy doing that, and they actually create more turbulence than open your windows. Your windows are still kind of slipstream, but you got the top open, the air is going over the hood, over the top, and then it's actually worse. So I don't advise opening your sunroof when you're driving at highway speeds if you want to get the best gas mileage possible. McBoyle9 says, father's got an '05 Subaru. It won't fill up with gas. It keeps shutting off. I've changed the evap canister and the hose, but it keeps shutting off. Well, I can tell you what it probably is. The fuel tank vent valve. Now, you want to pray that it's just the fuel tank vent valve, because if it's in the computer system or the wiring and that valve won't open when you're filling up the tank, then it'll keep doing that, and that can be an absolute mess. But generally, unless the car's been wrecked or flooded, the wiring in the computer is okay, and it's just that the vent valve is not working correct. So get yourself a vent valve and change that out, and that should stop all your problems, because you've already changed the canister and the hose that goes to it. So there's really nothing else left. You just want to pray it's not a wiring problem or a computer module problem. Check this out. This Hyundai Steria is the coolest futuristic minivan you'll ever see, but they say they're not bringing it to the United States. Now, I don't understand these companies. If they got something cool, why don't they bring it to the United States? People would buy it. Something that looks that cool. It's kind of like something out of Lost in Space. They do kind of look like the Oldsmobile Dustbuster vans from the 90s, but a lot cooler, like they've really been modernized. I think they're cool looking vans. And here's the thing. They're fascinating. Inside, you can have anywhere from 2 to 11 seats. And there's even a premium version that has gorgeous, plain-like leather captain seats. And they're huge inside. 176.6 cubic feet. Give you an example, Toyota Sienna's only 101 cubic feet, and it's got a lot of room. I don't know why they're not bringing these to the United States, but, you know, that's a company that often makes mistakes. I think they should bring this to the United States. I think it would sell. Now, it's going to be out in the second half of 2021, and it's going to be in South Korea and Australia. So you Aussies there, you'll be able to get one of these cool vans. I gotta say, they're pretty cool looking. Who knows? Maybe they're testing the waters, and if they see it's really popular in Australia, then maybe they'll bring it to the United States. A lot of the Asian companies, they test out their products in a smaller market like Australia, like South Korea. And then if it passes the test, Then they bring them to the United States. I think it would be something to bring a van like that with all those different configurations and all that room. Americans would love something like that. Bart says my 04 Camry makes a water-flowing sound at cold startup. Okay, check your coolant. It might be low. When it's low, what you get is you get air in your cooling system. Your heater core is basically a small radiator, but instead of in front of the car, it's inside the car to keep you warm. When you're low on coolant, that's the highest point, so that will have air in it. Well, when it is air and water, you hear it flowing. When it's full of just water and coolant, it doesn't really make a sound. But it's like a brook when it's low, because then there's air and you hear... So you're probably low on coolant. That's the main thing. Now, if you aren't and it's full, it probably just means that your heater core is a little bit worn inside and it's gurgling, and just live with it as long as it goes okay. Some of them do make noise as they age. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.